Alrighty, we are beginning in exactly 1 minute. So get ready, everybody, for Dr. Wolfula After Dark. And despite the name, this is not a sexually explicit stream. I know some of you guys are disappointed. You were hoping to see a little bit of dark dick, but it's not happening. I'm sorry. This is just a chat stream. I'm gonna be chatting about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, and after that, I'm gonna have a little Q&A. And also, I'll have, in the middle of that, I'll have a little bit of a channel announcement thing, where you'll get to find out the latest videos and news that's coming at ya. I don't know why I said it that way. I'm a little nervous. I always get a little nervous whenever I get back into streaming again, so I apologize in advance. Got a little bit of the jitters. I'm putting on my headphones now. Let's get started in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Intro time, baby! Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and welcome to Dr. Wolfula After Dark. Let me see your little live chats in the sidebar, just so I know you guys are alive. Hopefully, the sidebar isn't broken, because okay, looks like it's working. I love seeing that. Let me make sure I didn't fuck up the chat box at all. Let's see, yeah. I didn't fuck it up, awesome. So greetings, everybody, and welcome to Dr. Wolfula After Dark, where I announce some, upcoming videos, but most importantly, I answer your questions. But more importantly than that, I think that's right. More importantly than that, I also go into horror news. So let's discuss the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, simply called, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, they haven't really gone through this title that many times in the series, so it's not quite like Halloween. Well, actually, it is like Halloween. Never mind, they have 3 Halloween movies, so this is the 3rd movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is finally catching up with Halloween, at least. Now, this movie has been a little cursed for a while. Yeah, not just a little, it's been really cursed. It was made during the pandemic last year, and for like a whole year, they finished shooting it last year. For a whole year, we didn't hear anything about it. It was like quiet, we didn't see any images. All we had to go on was a teaser image. And we heard, rumblings by folks who heard the test screenings, and they said, oh, this movie's gonna suck, so just prepare yourself. So, that wasn't good, but, test screenings, they're not always, word of God. But, that wasn't good, and of course, the original directors, I think, either quit or they got fired, but I think they quit. They shot the movie in Bulgaria and not in Texas. This is the 2nd movie in the series shot in Bulgaria, so that's weird. Yeah, just not a lot of great buzz. But we finally got a teaser, but before we got the teaser by Netflix, so that's another thing. This movie's going to Netflix, in case you haven't heard about it. Yeah, it's coming to Netflix, it's not going to theaters, which is another bad sign. It seems to say that Legendary doesn't think that this movie will be a big hit. Like, no one will have the enthusiasm. So they're just like, yeah, let's just release it on Netflix quietly and, hope for the best. So that's not great news. But before we got the teaser, of course, we got a little bit of a sneak preview of Leatherface, just his silhouette, after a year. It took a year, but we finally got to see at least his silhouette, which is a serious tease. And, you can tell that this is a European setting, because, you can definitely tell it doesn't really look like Texas. It looks very Victorian era, kind of European style architecture. So it's going to be very weird stylistically, possibly. It's going to be not quite that authentic, gritty Texas world that you're probably hoping for. I know I'm hoping for it, but it looks a little, honestly, it looks like the kind of place a cosplay photographer would go to, like, take photos of his, like, steampunk cosplay. Like, it's just, it's not a great start, but, maybe Leatherface is cool, but at the same time, I don't know, they're just showing his silhouette, so it's a little suspicious. Like, part of me is thinking he's gonna look really questionable, but who knows? Maybe they'll pull something out of their asses with Leatherface. Maybe it'll be worth it, and we'll finally get like a great Leatherface again. But I guess we'll see. But of course, we also got the cast, which is not as interesting. So this is our cast of victims, or I guess heroes, but apparently they're going to be more like, like shithead Zoomers or millennials. Like they're apparently not going to be very, easy to identify with. Like you're gonna definitely probably be rooting for Leatherface in this movie for sure. I think you're gonna be like, yeah, Leatherface, kill all these people. Like, I guess we'll see. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do with these characters. Hopefully they aren't just like stereotypes, but it's, I don't know. I guess we'll see. They have a van again, but this one's even more rundown than the one in the original film. I don't know why they're driving a van. And I got a super chat from JP Fan. I will address it when we get to the Q&A, and hopefully I'll remember. I should remember, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this cast so far, but apparently they are kind of villainous. They're apparently Leatherface, according to the producer Fede Alvarez. According to him, Leatherface has basically been in hiding for like the past nearly 50 years. And something these guys do caused him to decide to come back. And I guess maybe he just sees him and he's just like, okay, I gotta put on the mask again and start fucking carving teenagers up again. I can't stand these people in my area. I don't know. I guess we'll see. They're very vague about the plot so far. But we do know that it looks like the original farmhouse is going to be in the movie. Of course, this is not the actual original farmhouse. This is a replica. So, it's not quite the original farmhouse. It's more like, it's a pretty accurate replica, and it looks like it has been worn down after 50 years quite a bit. But I think what they're going to be doing with it is they're essentially, I'm honestly thinking like we show like unpacked like suitcases in one shot. I think it's going to be like an Airbnb kind of thing, where it's just like they don't know that it used to be like the site of the most notorious crimes in America, and maybe Leatherface is in the basement, or maybe he's just prowling around the area. Maybe the teenagers are disrespectful of his family's history. I think maybe that's what they're going for, but I guess we'll see. The teaser is very vague, which is also part of why I'm basically dissecting it in a stream and not in a video, because there's just not enough to go on so far. I guess we'll see when we get a more substantial trailer, but then again, they might just release it and we won't see it. But we also get to see a little bit of a vague kind of hint that, there's a greater Sawyer family that maybe we don't know about, but I think Leatherface, his identity was, like, kept secret, so he could go into hiding. He could just take off the mask and go into hiding, and no one would know what he looks like. Because, like, he wears a mask, so he can't easily just go into hiding, and he probably was, like, born in total obscurity, so nobody would know what he looks like, but at the same time, he is, like, he's pushing it age-wise. He is pushing it. Hopefully, they do treat it realistically where 40 years has passed, where they don't try to, like, do some kind of weird, vague retcon where, okay, maybe the murders happened in the 90s or something, so Leatherface won't have to be too old, because he doesn't seem, in the brief glimpses we've seen of Leatherface so far, he doesn't seem old. He doesn't seem like he would be in his 70s by now, but he doesn't seem that way. Of course, we get the classic chainsaw. Apparently, it was, like, kept inside a wall, so I guess he just stowed it away for safekeeping, brought it back out of storage to kill some more teenagers. And, it looks pretty, it's a yellow chainsaw, not a lot of remarkable stuff, but it looks like it could have been the chainsaw from the original film, so there's that. And, there's a little bit of a hint about what he's going to do in one scene. It's kind of a neat idea where he goes after this one teenage girl who's underneath the floorboards, kind of like a Diary of Anne Frank kind of thing, but with a chainsaw. It looks like an interesting idea, but at the same time, it all feels like, you can tell right away that this isn't gonna be like, I've been like holding out hope we'd get like another Tobe Hooper original style Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, where it has just like gritty realism, like authenticity. And this definitely, right off the bat, feels, a Hollywood kind of thing, even though it was shot in Bulgaria. So, it's not quite what I was hoping for right off the bat, but it could still be a great movie. I guess we'll see. So far, we haven't heard great things, though, but yeah. But, of course, we also see that Leatherface obtains a new mask, and I guess at some point, I guess he probably goes, unless he just, like, puts the mask on his face, like, without doing any preparation. But it's clear that he kills a character, and that person's face becomes his new face. So we might get to see more of that process. We saw it in the original remake, so I don't know why I said original remake. We saw it in the Platinum Dunes remake, how he makes masks, but I guess we'll see it again. We don't really see that too frequently across the films, really. I mean, maybe we have. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen... Well, okay, we saw it in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Yeah, I guess they do it occasionally in the movies. Like, they sometimes show it. But I guess we'll see what it's like in 2022. Hopefully it's brutal and cool. I don't know. But I do like it how it looks like The Lion King, where it's just like... it's like just lifting up, like, Simba to all the animals in the kingdom. Like, it's a weird moment. Like, yeah, it's definitely like a Hollywood moment where it's like this big moment where he holds up the face for everyone to see, an audience to see. A little contrived, but oh well. And of course, this movie comes out on February 18th on Netflix. Kim Henkel is apparently involved, who was the co-writer of the original film. But Kim Henkel also wrote and directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, so he doesn't necessarily have a lot of fucking credibility. But, he's still involved. I mean, they'd probably say Tobe Hooper was involved if Tobe Hooper was still alive. They probably, if they could, Netflix would say, before Tobe Hooper died, we let him know a few years in advance that this was going to happen. There's some bullshit. Fede Alvarez said that if Gunnar Hansen was still alive, he would be playing Leatherface in this movie. And, I don't know if they would have really did that. It's easy to say that kind of thing when the man has passed away. I would be on board for it, of course, but it's easy to say that when the guy's already dead. It's a little too late to even, like, say that kind of thing. It felt a little weird to read that in an interview. But anyway, that's all the info we know about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 so far, at least all the info I know so far. And I guess we'll have to wait for another trailer or for them to just drop it. I mean, who knows? They might just drop it, like, without much fanfare. I guess we'll see. We got a couple months to wait. Now, moving on to announcements, and then I'll move on to the Q&A. So first, for the announcements, I'm going to be reviewing Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 on the main channel, with the subtitle, Better Watch Out. You see, it's a pun because the main character in the movie is blind, but you can't really tell they're blind. They're for a blind person, they definitely seem like they can see shit. They definitely seem like they can see shit. But whatever. And also on the Gulag, later down the line, closer to Christmas, there will be a review of The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, depending on if there's time, there will be more, and I'll announce that stuff. But these are the 2 planned videos so far for this month. And if all things go to plan, there'll be some more Christmas horror content before Christmas passes. So stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have the Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 video done this week. I guess next week, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell with Sundays. I guess this week or next week, I don't know. Some people consider Sunday, like, I don't know. Part of me always felt like it was like, I guess Monday is the start. So I guess next week, yeah, I don't know. I'm always weird with Sundays. And also, for next weekend, on Saturday, I will be streaming both Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2. So I reviewed those movies in the past, but I will be live streaming them for Patreon supporters of my movie night tier. So if you want to support the channel, get some bonus content, consider supporting. Link in the description if you're interested. Now that is all out of the way, let's move on to the Q&A. Let me catch up on my super chats, and then I'll address questions as they come. So let's catch up on all the super chats. I passed by Rockland Graves, I'll address his. I'm gonna go in order. Let me catch up on all the super chats. I think, let's see. Okay. I think, yep, okay, I found the super chat, the first one. So JP Fan 1989 has a super chat, thank you. Test screening shows that he only kills because PC police kids accidentally kill his mother while trying to tear down her Confederate flag. Oh, okay. Well, all right. We'll see how that's gonna go. All right. Root Dr. Thorne has a super chat. When are we not rooting for Leatherface? Well, I rooted for Leatherface with, oh man. Oh god, the super chat. Scared the hell out of me. Wow, that was late though. I got that super chat a while ago. Man, the alerts and Streamlabs are so delayed. But Root Dr. Thorne says, when are we not rooting for Leatherface? Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I was rooting for Leatherface with Franklin in the original film. But, I wanted Sally to live. Sally seemed like a cool chick. All right, let's address the next super chat by Rockland Graves. Thank you. Really hope this movie doesn't suck. Always love the content, Doc. Keeping it coming. I messed that up. Always love the content, Doc. Keep it coming. Yes, I will keep the videos going. This month, actually, is the 11th anniversary. Hopefully the alert sound isn't too loud. I really hope not. But this month is actually the 11-year anniversary of the channel. Well, not the channel. The channel is actually 12 years old. But I started putting videos up 11 years ago this month. So it's a pretty... Well, it's not really that big. Last year was a big deal, but 11 years, it's nothing really exciting. But still, it's cool. Still around 11 years later. I didn't really disappear. I would disappear for several months during some years, but past few years, I've been consistent. I've been consistent. In fact, part of me feels like, the first, 10 years were like a prototype for the years to come for the channel. And one more super chat by Ryan McClellan, thank you. Doc, any opinion on the Hellraiser Hulu movie coming up? I don't really have a lot of opinions about it because we don't know too much. I'm looking forward more to apparently the HBO Hellraiser show, which is kind of funny. I think the rights are split up right now, where I guess HBO owns the rights to a show and Hulu owns the rights to a movie, which is kind of strange. It's always weird when those kind of things happen. I mean, they happen with... I guess they kind of happen with Child's Play, but not really. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more information, but I'm looking more forward to the HBO show, because it's got Michael Dougherty and David Gordon Green working on it. Seems like it'll be a cool concept for just a series. I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be anthology or if it will be a series going forward. I guess we'll see. And before I address ATM Super Chat, I want to address just a normal question, just to keep it even. I'm getting a lot more Super Chats and I want to keep it fair. Now let me see. I know Right asks, the one lens is in homage to Snake Plissken, right, Doc? No, it's not really an homage. It's not really an homage to anything. Honestly, I think the real reason why I wear one lens sunglasses is because I like to wear sunglasses, but I also like the fact that someone can see my eye in a video. So that one lens is like a compromise, where you can see my eye, but I still get to wear sunglasses and look cool. But you get to see one of my eyes. So, it's a compromise. I guess I could wear a certain kind of lens. I guess I could wear regular glasses or something. But no, I like the aviators, it's pretty much one of my trademarks. I know there was an old school horror host who recently passed away called The Ghoul, I believe, who was a horror host in Detroit, I think. But I was not familiar. Of him, until recently, so it was pretty much just, an independent thing that I came upon. I don't know why I said came upon. It's a little weird. But Sam has a super sticker, thank you for that. But ATM has a super chat, thank you, sir. Hey, Doc, what do you think of the casting of Nick Cage as Dracula in Renfield? It's going to be interesting casting. I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do with Nick Cage as Dracula, because it's not real. I mean, he's done vampires before, but I'm kind of wondering if he's gonna do. I don't know. Sometimes he does like voices, like he did like an Adam West impression in Kick-Ass. So it'll be interesting to see him like do some other kind of character, but. You never really know with Nick Cage. He's like a wild card in movies. You never know if he's going to give you like something really crazy good. Lately, he has been being crazy good, and I think he's had like a Cage renaissance in recent years where he's, he's pretty much been active. Like he puts out like multiple movies a year. Like he's always been active. But I think he's been putting out much more critically acclaimed films and appearing in better roles in recent years. Because he was a bit of a joke for a while, and I think it's been a boon for him that he has been switching more to like low budget indie films instead of like all those like blockbuster films he was doing for a while that were just like schlock, but not really like the fun kind of schlock, just like, the corporate kind of schlock. So, he's been doing well, and I guess we'll see with Dracula. Nicole L. says, Doc, has Shudder ever said if you are going to get your silver bolo? I actually got it, but I've been holding off on opening the package they sent. Like, I got it like a couple weeks ago, but I've been holding off on opening the package because I want to make a video out of it. So when I have the time, we'll open it up and see what's inside. But until then, the package will remain closed. But I do have it now. It was delayed for a while. I guess I was a little impatient about getting it, but it's finally here. I know it's here. I even made my own fake silver bolo. Like, I was so impatient, but it's finally here. Sam Cotter has a super chat. What's your favorite mythical creature? Now, I'm guessing that includes cryptids, and I would have to say my favorite mythical creature, well, there's that one weird one in Japan that's basically, I think its face is on its ass. That one is pretty weird. Or I think it has like an eyeball where its asshole is. That's pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting concept for a mythical creature. It's very creative. You have to think outside the box. I mean, I guess maybe it does exist. Maybe they see those things all the time, but that's always the one that comes to mind just because of how fucking wild it is. But also, I like the Jersey Devil. Like, I don't know, just because it has a cool name. Like, it does sound like and I think, there is a sports team, the Jersey Devils, but it does sound like a sports team, but it sounds cool just because of how, like, odd it is, and the fact that there's just not really a lot of, like, documentation about what it looks like. Like, the main image you see... Oh, actually, my favorite, I'd have to say Spring Heel Jack, though. That one always was cool to me just because of one illustration I saw of him from, like, the Victorian era, where he's, like, got, like, this sort of skeleton-like shirt or something. Like, I don't know, he always looked really cool to me in some of his depictions. And he's just, like, just a weird guy where he's just, like, a weirdo that just jumps around, like... like, he's just like a guy who jumps around and shoots fire out of his mouth. Just a weird kind of mythical creature. And he just looks cool, too. All right, let's catch up on some more super chats, and then I'll try to catch up on some, regular questions. Ghost Warrior just donated. Thank you, Ghost Warrior. And Luke K. Art asked, if the new Texas Chainsaw has no Alexandra Daddario in skimpy outfits, I'm not interested. And your Clown House review was an eye-opener, thank you. Yeah, that Clown House video was awkward. I want to do more Victor Salva movie reviews. I want to do Powder. I want to do Jeepers Creepers 2 and 3. Just, but it's always a little awkward, though. But, I do notice a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, the recent ones, have quite some eye candy. So, it gives you a little extra reason to watch them, even if they're bad, I suppose. JP Fan has another super chat. Thoughts on Chucky? I haven't seen any of it. I heard people seem to like it, but I saw some people didn't like the finale, but I haven't seen it yet. I will probably see it soon and review it, though, so if you're wondering my thoughts, you'll find them out soon. But honestly, I haven't really liked the recent Chucky movies. To me, I like 1, 2, and Bride of Chucky, but a lot of the Chucky sequels, they haven't quite been my thing usually. But, maybe the TV series turns it around. I haven't seen it yet. Root Dr. Thorne asked, a Jeff Goldblum Dracula like the Goosebumps game. I'm hoping, I mean, who knows? Maybe the Nick Cage Dracula movie will be this campy thing, because I did like Jeff Goldblum's performance as Dracula in that Goosebumps game, which is a game that we always intended to review someday because we owned a copy, but we just never got around to it. But that was back when, you would see a lot of actors just in, just the craziest settings, the craziest full-motion video games. I kind of miss that, when you just see, a live-action celebrity in a video game environment. Those were the days. And I got another super chat from JP Fan, but let's answer a few super chats before we... let's answer a few, regular questions before we get to the super chats. All right. Shelby Ballard asked, would you ever consider reviewing The People Under the Stairs? Supposedly they are remaking it, and Jordan Peele is... Oh, man. Oh, God, I almost yawned. That was bad. Okay, I held back a yawn. Supposedly they are remaking it, and Jordan Peele is producing. I probably will review it at some point, but I can't really say when. But I hadn't heard of a remake, but I guess that isn't surprising. There's just, always a remake around the corner of any horror movie. I found out just now, I guess just reading on Wikipedia, so it might not be true, but I found out Silent Night, Deadly Night is getting a remake. And I'm hoping with that they have some reference to Garbage Day. I'm hoping. I know they did, I guess some kind of, loose tie-in remake in 2012 of Silent Night, Deadly Night, just called Silent Night, but didn't really seem to have that much to do with it, so I guess that doesn't necessarily count. Now, let me see. Alpha asked, Fantastic Four thing or John Carpenter thing? I'm gonna go with John Carpenter thing all the time. All the way. It's, I think the John Carpenter thing could take on Marvel thing in a fight. I think that's pretty safe to say. I don't think there's any contest there. He is a rock creature, but the thing can I guess duplicate. I guess something that can kick a rock creature's ass. I don't know. I guess the thing would have to figure that stuff out. I guess maybe the Marvel thing could win, but I don't know. But I prefer, of course, John Carpenter thing. Let's see. Travis Hall asked, love your vids. Any favorite horror games you play? Dead by Daylight, Friday, Dead Space? I enjoyed the Friday the 13th game quite a bit when it was still, active and supported, but, I don't play a lot of horror games, admittedly. I mostly just play, Nintendo shit and, Fallout, BioShock, that kind of stuff. I don't usually play horror games. I mostly prefer horror in the realm of film, but I have been trying to branch out more into games lately, and I need to continue my Resident Evil 8 live stream series, a very long-running live stream series. Now let's catch up on super chats. JP Fan had another super chat. Never mind on that last question. I was wondering if you knew about the John Carpenter Creature from the Black Lagoon that never got made. I knew about that, but I also know Peter Jackson was at one point possibly going to do a Creature from the Black Lagoon film. Of course, also Guillermo del Toro was going to do one, but that became The Shape of Water, pretty much his his sexy fan fiction version of the character, okay. But yeah, Peter Jackson was offered either remake, in the 90s he was offered either remaking King Kong or Creature from the Black Lagoon. And he ultimately chose King Kong, but then that project fell by the wayside when he did Lord of the Rings, but eventually he did King Kong in the mid-2000s. But, I don't know a ton of information about the John Carpenter Creature film. but I do know at one point he was attached, I believe, in the early 90s, and it would have been cool. It would have been great to see. I guess it would have been awesome to see, like, 80s and 90s, iconic horror directors take on the classic Universal monster films, just to see what that would have been like, during the next kind of heyday of horror, because, the 80s, maybe we'll have another time like the 30s to 40s and the 70s to 80s. Maybe we're getting into that time period, that re-reckoning of horror as a genre, where, we get a lot more, hits coming out, but it remains to be seen. Then again, I'm sure, like, some people during the 70s and 80s at the time were like, man, these horror movies fucking suck. Like, where's the rubber monsters? Where's that bullshit? I miss that shit. There's so many, like, murderers and gory zombies. What's going on? I don't know. Link Aran 87 has a super chat. Review Maniac Cop movies. I do plan to review those films at a certain point. Not sure when, because I got a lot of stuff, lined up that I need to take on first, but at some point, I will. Rockland Graves is a super chat. Thoughts on a My Bloody Valentine sequel? I live a few hours away from where it was shot, and I've been considering figuring out a screenplay. I feel like there's a challenge about where to go next with that, because, part of the appeal was just, like, the mystery. So, you'd have to do it again, but then it becomes like Scream. I feel like they missed their chance in the 80s to do a real sequel, and I don't know, I think, maybe we're probably gonna get, like, a Blumhouse, reboot at some point, but I don't know what they could do with the... the end of the original film, it ends with Axel, I believe, was the killer. I could be wrong, though. I always get it confused, because the remake and the original are, like, switched out the killers, so it's always confusing. But the guy who's masquerading as Harry Warden, he escapes. And it was the same thing with the recent remake, the killer escapes. So, you have that, but, of course, the original actor who played the killer in the film, I guess you could have him come back as a cameo because he's still alive, but he stopped acting, I think, in the 90s, and he became a director for The Simpsons, which is kind of funny to me, and his last name is Affleck, like Ben Affleck, so that's kind of funny to me, but I don't know what they could do with it, but I do want to see more of that, because I always thought it was a cool concept. Now, before I answer more Super Chats, let's answer some more regular questions, because I got a few Super Chats I need to catch up on. Okay. He gave a lot of Super Chats. Kenzie J says, The Munsters is just a ripoff of Addams Family. Never watched it. Well, gotta give it a chance, because it's not really a ripoff. It's like, Addams Family was, well... Actually, it's not a ripoff because they came out almost simultaneously. Like, so, it could be argued maybe Munsters ripped off the concept of a spooky family from the Addams Family cartoons, but I think that's a little, it's not necessarily the case. But I always preferred Addams Family, but the Munsters is great too. I guess it is like a Coke and Pepsi thing, where you either prefer Munsters or Addams Family more, because they were big, like, they were basically the Coke and Pepsi of spooky families in the 60s, pretty much. And for a while, Munsters was more popular than Addams Family, but I think the fact that they never really were able to revive Munsters in the same way Addams Family managed to be revived in some successful and semi-successful ways, like, pretty much the only great Munsters is the classic series, so it's not quite, as appealing, unfortunately. Even though it was initially more popular, it's become less popular to the subsequent generations compared to Addams Family. But, let's answer another question. Let's see. AJ Samano asks, thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home? Well, I probably wouldn't have seen this next one, because I didn't really like the first two. But, nostalgia has a hold on me. I love the Sam Raimi movies, so seeing, of course, Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe back as, their iconic supervillain characters, Doc Ock and Green Goblin, like, that's enough to get me into the theater. And of course, there's the chance of seeing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man again. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. I think maybe they knew, like, they were gonna lose some. They were gonna lose some of the older Spider-Man movie fans. They're like, okay, let's bring him back with this, I guess, because I understand, like, a lot of people like. I mean, I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man as a character, but I just haven't liked the stories of his standalone films. Like, they just didn't really feel like what Spider-Man stories should be, and, like, they just seem to, like, rely too heavily on his relationship with Iron Man. Like, I'm just not really into that at all. And it also just feels like he doesn't really have, relatable struggles in life. Like, I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies because he just lived in, like, a shithole apartment, and everything was just, his whole life was falling apart because he was Spider-Man. Like, I love that shit, and it's not there. I love that stuff. But, some people, like the alternative. Sam Cotter has a super chat. Favorite Halloween horror house? The one I always remember is I think it was the 2016 Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. I think it was that one, where it was basically just a recreation of the original movie's house, and it was pretty accurate. The recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre house is much more kind of in fan fiction-y territory, where it's like just imagining the story between the original film and the second film, which was cool to see. But I just love seeing, just the old school Leatherface house. Like, it looked really cool. I love the ones that are great recreations of the houses. But the other one I liked is I like the Freddy vs. Jason house. That one was really cool. Just because, you got a mix of both Freddy and Jason, and it kind of recreated some of their greatest hits, including also just kind of going through the plot of the movie. But yeah, it was a cool house. And it also had, like, some cool, like, video monitor effects, like not monitor effects, like projected effects on a wall. That was cool, just seeing them fight on a projected wall. Because I guess they couldn't stage, like, the Freddy and Jason actors, like, fighting each other over and over again. They're just like, okay, let's just project it on a wall. And it looked cool, though. All right, let's catch up on some more super chats. Let me make sure. Let's see. Oh, okay, I think... All right, okay. Serafina asked, what happened to your riff views of the Hatchet franchise? Summer is long over. Well, I riff viewed the first two movies, and after... Well, of course, like, things happen over the summer, but starting in January, I will be continuing and covering the last two Hatchet movies. Hatchet 3, and of course Victor Crowley. I got a little sidetracked. That sometimes happens, but I will be continuing the Hatchet franchise and finishing it off, and then we will, start fresh. Start off with some new horror franchise, and the plan now is to just, instead of just reviewing, like, one random horror entry and then moving on to another random horror entry, I'm going to be, like, making a string of videos. I'm going to be finishing off the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the ones I haven't covered. I'm going to be finishing off, me continuing, like, well, I haven't even started I reviewed random later shitty entries, but I haven't even started the Hellraiser series proper. I'm going to be finishing off Child's Play. Lots of, I mean, it's really great. Like, I was very inconsistent in the very early, in, like, the first, like, 8 or 9 years of doing this horror channel. But that also means that I have, like, so many fucking movies I haven't even covered. So we're, like, 11 years in, and I have just plenty of films I can still cover. Like, that's nice. It's at least a... that's at least a bright point, I suppose. But don't worry, Serafina. There will be more Victor Crowley in the future, in the near future, I should say. Alrighty. I have not forgotten. At some point soon, I will also be because I have the second Halloween young adult novel, so sometime soon I will read it and review it. But again, I get sidetracked. You know, it just happens. It happens. I'm going to try not to be sidetracked so much, but I get sidetracked by all kinds of different projects. Spooky Mom has a super chat, thank you. Hi, Doc. Do you enjoy any Clive Barker films apart from Hellraiser, Nightbreed, for example? You know, I love Nightbreed. That one is very cool. But honestly, Candyman is probably... But he didn't really direct that. He just wrote it. Or I think it was just like the basis of one of his I think novellas. But I do love Candyman, even though it's more like kind of tangentially Clive Barker in the sense that it's just like an adaptation. But I do love Candyman. But Nightbreed is cool too. Like, he was like, I wish he was still active as much now, because he's kind of, I think his health has been failing. Because I don't know, it's really messed up, because I saw him recently and he looks rough, unfortunately. Like, I remember the last time I saw him, like, he looked really good for his age, but I think something's been happening that's just caused his health to deteriorate rapidly in the recent years. Like, because he looked like just this fucking muscular, like, hunk of a guy last time I saw him before seeing him more recently. It's unfortunate. Hopefully he recovers and we get some more Clive Barker content, because he was kind of like second to Stephen King for a while, but unlike Stephen King, he was able to like successfully spin off into being a film director for quite a while. Like, Stephen King made one movie and he was just like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I suck at this. So yeah, I do love Clive Barker. He's a cool guy, and he's also very knowledgeable of the horror genre. I always love seeing his interviews for various horror DVDs. Like, you know, he just has a lot of, you know, he knows like all kinds of different eras of horror. So, you know, he's a cool guy. He's a cool horror guy. All right. I don't know why I said cool horror guy. I don't know. It sounds stupid in retrospect. All right. Unsourced Wall Radio has a super chat. Any hope for a Meddling Kids novel review in 2022? Maybe on the Gulag? I do have a copy of that book, and I do want to cover it. Well, it'll probably be on the Gulag. I think that's probably what's going to happen, but I will participate in that review. But I'm looking forward. I'm hoping they make a movie of it, because it was published by Blumhouse, which is kind of funny to me, so theoretically, they own the rights to make, like, a gritty horror Scooby-Doo movie that's, you know, just, like, inspired by Scooby-Doo. So it would be interesting to see them do something with that. But then again, I think it's one thing to publish a book called Meddling Kids, but it's another thing to make a movie called Meddling Kids. So maybe they'd have to change the title to something that's not as obviously related to Scooby-Doo. Because, like, it's not I honestly at first thought it was an official Scooby-Doo book, but it's not. It's just an homage to Scooby-Doo. Because, like, the characters are totally different names. I honestly thought it was just like, oh, they're making, like, a series of, like, horror Scooby-Doo books. Or, like, you know, young adult Scooby-Doo novels. But turns out, no. I mean, they do. They make the Daphne and Velma books lately, but Meddling Kids is not one of those. All right, let's answer some more questions before getting to the super chats. All right, then I'll continue super chats. Okay. All right. Well, JP Fat asked if I'm going to be having more fan mail videos, and I will. I will actually have more fan mail videos. That's going to be the Silver Bolo video, where I open the Silver Bolo, show it off, but then I also take on the rest of my fan mail. That I've gotten so much fan mail this year, and I haven't done another fan mail video. I've just got, like, all the fan mail stored away, ready to show in a video, and thank the folks who sent it. It's been a hectic year, but I will theoretically very soon take on the fan mail video, the next one, because I got a lot. It'll be a big fan mail video. I guess that's part of what is slowing me down, is just knowing, oh my god, I got so much fan mail. Thank you, guys. I will address it soon. Tony Rubino says, I want to see Sam Raimi's take on Batman. Imagine what he could do with Batman, plus maybe Bruce Campbell as Batman Bruce Wayne. I would love to see Bruce Campbell play like a superhero or an aging superhero. That it feels like such a missed opportunity that he never got to do that, especially in his prime, because in his prime he would have been like just the most kick-ass actor to play a superhero. But yeah, I would like to see him maybe play like, an older superhero that might play more of a supporting role in something. It would be cool to see him play like a major superhero still, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But I mean, he could play like Dark Knight Returns Batman, I guess. I don't know. But again, it's just like, I don't know, it's just like fantasy world. But the reason why Darkman came out was, it was basically just Sam Raimi saying, well, I couldn't get the rights to make a Batman movie, so I'm just gonna make my own dark, gritty superhero movie. That's just my own idea, but is kind of Batman adjacent, but it's not really a Batman movie. But, we got Darkman. It would be cool to see Sam Raimi return to Darkman, because, they made, they made 2 sequels, but they were, direct-to-video. It would be cool to see, Sam Raimi just, revisit it and reboot it himself. It would be cool to see that continuation. Though, I would love to see Sam Raimi's Batman, though. I think he could do a great job with Batman. I feel like he hasn't... I don't know, I feel like Spider-Man 3 and I guess Oz, kind of derailed his career, unfortunately. And I don't know if, this Doctor Strange movie he's directing is gonna put it back on track either, just because, those MCU movies are, they usually are just they're not creator movies, usually. In some cases with James Gunn they are, but they usually are just Mick movies. They're assembly line films, essentially, usually. They follow a strict formula, and they kind of just... I guess this might be controversial to say, though. I don't want to get too much into that, but hopefully Sam Raimi is able to be, his usual creator stuff. His usual creator self, not stuff. Oh my god. Alright, let's answer Jesse's very generous super chat. Thank you, Jesse. When are the Wolfulins invading Earth? I'm planning a dinner party next Saturday. Is that safe? Don't worry, the Wolfulites will be invading on Sunday. So, you can have your little party, but you better watch your back. You better prepare. You better get some kind of safety shelter or something, because it's gonna get messy. It's gonna get messy on Sunday. You guys better just celebrate Christmas on Saturday. You might as well, because there's not gonna be a Christmas to look forward to once we're done with the Earth. It's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get fucking nuts, guys. So just prepare. That's all I'm gonna say. Just prepare. All right. Okay, let's see. Another super chat. Oh, whoops. Lost it for a second. Okay. Ryan the Wicked has a super chat. Thank you, Ryan. Are you ever going to do any full moon movies like Puppet Master? That's another thing I need to cover. So, yes, at some point soon, I hope to cover full moon films. I do need to cover all those movies, especially Puppet Master. And I also need to cover Phantasm. There's so many series that I haven't covered that, that's what I'm looking forward about next year. It's just attacking just all the film. Well, not attacking, I don't know. Just getting into all the movies I just haven't, and just trying to just keep a steady stream of just reviews and refocusing and I'm looking forward to it. I got so much stuff I'm ready to do. So, look forward to that. Look forward to that. Or don't. I'm not gonna boss you around. Alright. Let's find another question. Let's see. RJ Harrington. Actually, before I read RJ's question, we're about halfway through this stream, so I'm gonna take a drink of Fresca. So, let me, just mute my mic and telepathically drink this Fresca. All right. All right, that was some good Fresca. So, I actually before RJ's question, I did see a comment go by about covering Wrong Turn. Another thing I want to cover, so keep an eye out for that in the future. All right, RJ asked, I would like to see some more Versus-style films. I would love to see the Black Devil doll from Hell take on Chucky. The Black Devil doll from Hell? I've never even heard of that, but, actually, no, yeah, Trilogy of Terror, I believe is that doll. Okay, never mind. I was like, what the hell is that? That would be an interesting crossover, but, I feel like more likely feasible, I guess, Versus movie would probably be like... I don't know. I'm not really into the Versus thing. I feel like it was cool to see it with Freddy versus Jason, but I feel like it would just be the same movie over and over again, just with different killers, and I guess maybe that would be enough for some people, but I don't know. There's only so much plot you can do, where you can't just have them fighting for like 90 minutes because, it'll get old, like, after a while. Like, of course, you can't make a movie that's just a non-stop fight. Like, otherwise, if it could work, we'd see that done more often. It would just, like, you'd get tired of just this one fight continuously, or just nothing but fights. Like, you gotta have more story, so you just have to come up with, like, some reasons for these killers to, like, meet each other and fight. And it always just feels a little, like... a bit of a stretch why they would be fighting each other, so it always just feels like an excuse, just to have this kind of lucrative marketing opportunity. I don't know. I always just prefer keep them standalone, and I always just prefer actually just like Easter eggs. It's cool to see like Easter egg references to other horror franchises, just to, imply maybe they're connected. But I feel like, if you get into the crossover thing, then it just becomes too superhero-y. It just becomes like a comic book movie kind of thing, and it just kind of strays from horror. I know, like, fans like that kind of comic book approach to horror franchises, but I'm not so into it. But, I wouldn't, like... I wouldn't turn down a Versus movie, a new one. Like, if someone said Michael Myers versus Leatherface, I wouldn't be like, okay, I don't want you to do that. But it's not something that I'm, like, actively hoping for. It's something that, if it happens and it's good, okay, that's cool. But it's not something that I'm, like, dying to see. Because, I feel like that's an opportunity for comics. Like, we had, like, Leatherface versus Jason in the comics. I feel like there's a better realm for that, but unfortunately, they've just, like, stopped making, like, horror franchise comics, which is a little disappointing. I would love to see some more, like, horror franchise comics. They used to make horror franchise comics of, like, Jason, Chucky, Michael, Freddy, literally all of them. Now they don't, and I miss those. They were cool. It sucks. All right. Okay, before I get to these super chats, let me answer. Let's find one random question that I enjoy. Well, the guy who plays mobile games asks, are you going to review Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 through 5? I am, but that question doesn't count. Jeffrey Tilford asked, where did you go to medical school? Medical school? What the hell are you talking about? Okay, let's... Oh, I thought the Black... I guess people are pointing out that the Black Devil doll from Hell is a movie. I thought it was like the name of the doll from Trilogy of Terror. Okay, never mind. Okay. Yeah, then in that case, that's a little bit of a random choice to have fight Freddy. I feel like, honestly, Annabelle or some bullshit like that is a little bit more likely. But, all right. Okay. Coco Lee says, we need a modern Children of the Corn. We've had so many Children of the Corn movies. I think they've remade Children of the Corn twice in the past decade or something like that. But I guess, they could give it another shot. Stephen King has always been, like, just confused about why Children of the Corn is the one story of his that became, like, a franchise. Because if you've read the story, if you've read the original story that's in Night Shift, his short story collection, it's only 10 pages long. It's not long. You could knock it out in literally just like a few minutes and read it. And, you know, I can understand making a movie out of it because it's a cool concept. But it's just like crazy that they made like a dozen of those movies, and it's just like a 10-page story. It's a little ridiculous. But Ghost Rider 74 has a super chat. What's your favorite Jaws ripoff? I don't know if I have a favorite Jaws ripoff. I feel like the sequels themselves are good enough Jaws ripoffs. Like, I honestly love the second movie just because it's like, it's just about these teenagers that get like trapped on some kind of barge or island in the middle of the ocean, and for some reason the fucking shark is returned, like a different one that's pissed off, like just, you know, for no reason. I guess there was the Bear Jaws movie where it was like a bear that's on the loose. I guess that was kind of neat to see. But, you know, honestly, Jaws ripoffs, yeah, not really my kind of thing. It's one of those things where it's kind of funny because it's like, I feel like the reason why they stopped at Jaws 4, even though they probably could keep making money from Jaws movies, is just because there's just so many shark movies, like, 'cause you can't really copyright a shark, like, and make it into this marketable horror franchise character. Anybody can make a shark movie, and it's been proven time and again. Like, I don't know why shark is, like, the genre to go to for so many, like, low-budget horror movie creators, like, but people love shark movies, but it's never been a thing that I've been that fixated on beyond the original Jaws. Not really. Okay, I'm gonna have a little bit more Fresca, and then I'll read JP Fan's question. All right, pausing my mic. Oh my god, that was some good Fresca. JP Fan asked, oh man, JP Fan asked, thoughts on Krampus Naughty Cut? Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I do plan to buy the 4K Blu-ray. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully there's no like visual or audio glitches, because lately Scream Factory and Arrow Video, they've been really slipping quality-wise. Like, their releases have been having like crazy glitches lately, unfortunately. Like, I wanted to get Donnie Darko on 4K, but apparently it has like a visual glitch, so hopefully Krampus has no issues. I also wanted to get Citizen Kane from Criterion, and even they had some glitches, so you have to go through this like replacement disc program. So I'm gonna wait and see what people say about this Krampus release, and if it all looks good, I'll get it, because, you know, $25 for one movie, it's a bit of an investment, and I have the PG-13 movie on Blu-ray already, so I want to make sure, you know, it's going to be spent well. But I do love Krampus, and I'm looking forward to seeing what got cut out to give it a PG-13 rating. It's probably nothing too extreme, but it'll be nice to finally see it. It's kind of messed up that they didn't release it, you know, in the original home video release. I think it's just because, like, home video releases now have gotten so lazy, where they just don't bother. Like, they used to be like, here's two versions, the theatrical and unrated cut, but now you don't really see that anymore. It sucks. I miss that. Alrighty. But I will see the naughty cut, and I might make a video about the differences, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'd have to see and decide, because it might not be a lot different. I guess we'll see. It might not be substantial enough. And Red gave me a super chat sticker of just like a smiling face. I like that. I like that quite a bit. All right, let me see. Let me make sure. Okay. All right, one more super chat. Red asked, when will you do the Halloween Kills review? Well, it'll more likely be a review. A review is for movies that are just so bad they're not worth reviewing. And I guess some people think Halloween Kills sucks, so maybe they are like, yeah, review it. But it's for movies that are just like, all you can really do is just make fun of them. So reviews is like a different kind of thing from my reviews, where I actually go through, the different aspects of the movie. But my review will probably come. I'll probably start working on it in February or January. It'll depend on how much I get done of the Hatchet video, because, of course, it'll be great timing because Halloween Kills will be coming out, on 4K with the director's cut, or I guess it's the extended cut, where it has an alternate ending. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's different in that ending, because I enjoyed Halloween Kills, and I watched it. I think I watched it 3 times so far. So, I will see it again, and I will review it soon. So, and it'll be a big video, but I didn't really want to rush into making a long video about it, just because, it's so new. I wanted it to kind of, just settle in my mind and just kind of figure out what all my feelings about it. But across three watches, I still liked it. So, I guess we'll see. Yes, we will see. And I got a super chat from Ghost Pirate Entertainment, but I'll address that after answering a few other questions first. Cryptoria asked, McIntyre or Honeycutt, Blake or Potter, Burns or Winchester? Now that is a question about my preferred characters on MASH, the long-running 1970s sitcom about the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital engaged in the Korean War conflict, and I will give my preferred characters thusly. I definitely prefer Trapper John over BJ for sure. BJ was, he's a cool guy, but, I guess he was more of like a straight man to Hawkeye, because he was more like a married man that was faithful, so, it was a nice, like, a duo, but, Trapper John was just so charismatic. And, of course, I gotta go with Colonel Potter over Colonel Blake, because, Colonel Blake was a cool guy, but he just felt a little too lecherous, like, his subordinates. It was nice to kind of have, like, just this fatherly figure at the camp. It was great. And I gotta go with, Major Winchester is a better character than Major Burns, but, Burns in his prime, he was a funny character, so I gotta go with Burns. But Winchester, it's close. Like, he was a much more better crafted character. He was a three-dimensional character, but I gotta go with Burns. Just he was more enjoyable. Now, let's answer Ghost Pirate Entertainment Super Chat. What movies are you looking forward to most in 2022? Honestly, I guess just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know anything else that's... Oh, wait, no, The Batman. I am looking forward to seeing a new Batman movie. And this new one looks pretty cool, so I guess that movie for sure. I was going to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though I think it looks a little sketchy. But that was the only one I could think of that was coming out next year. But no, also The Batman. And I guess maybe Flash 2. Well, it's not Flash 2. I'm looking forward to the Flash movie coming out next year. So I'm looking forward to that too, I guess. See how it goes. I'm more of a DC fan than Marvel, but honestly, I'm not super into some of the DC movies coming out lately, but yeah, looking forward to those two at least. I am looking forward to those two. Alrighty, let's see, Faye Gish asked, I don't know if you like the Beatles, but did you watch the Get Back documentary? I started watching the first part. It seems pretty interesting. I need to continue it for sure, but I am interested in it. I'm not really a hardcore Beatles fan, but it's always interesting to kind of find out, the history of these, like, Hallmark sort of bands. It's always interesting, and that stuff isn't usually, there aren't really, like, usually these kind of fly-on-the-wall documentaries about these classic bands, so I am looking forward to seeing the rest of it, so I will be continuing it. Alright, let's see, let me take another drink of Fresca, and then I will read another question. Yeah, Fresca. Billy Zane says, I think I would have been a better Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. I agree with that. Jesse Eisenberg just didn't make sense. They were just like trying to be all like, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg would be the Lex Luthor of our world, I guess. So let's try to connect to that. But that's not really, it's trying too hard to be trendy. I'm not really into that. So that kind of sucked. I didn't really like Jesse Eisenberg. That was one of the big mistakes, I think, because they got a lot of the casting right. But Jesse Eisenberg just doesn't work. You do need like a Billy Zane or just somebody like who's like just this sort of anti-Bruce Wayne that's just like, got this charismatic, like, Adonis-like quality to him. Like, I like that. I don't know. I don't like the, he's just like this wimpy nerd. I don't like that at all. I don't know. I like the idea that he's like trying to be a peak human like Batman, like just to try to show up Superman, and you don't really get that with Jesse Eisenberg. You don't really get that. Let me see. But Ethan Hart gave me a donation. I really appreciate that. That's very generous. Thank you, sir. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, Ethan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let me see. I keep getting asked if I'm going to review Wrong Turn. I will. I will soon. I really want to. It'll happen. I swear to God. It'll happen. It'll happen. Okay. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, well, Weber asked, your thoughts on popular horror franchises going to streaming platforms instead of theaters. Well, you know me. I saw Halloween Kills in theaters, and then literally, I think that night, or I think the next night, I watched it on Peacock. So, if it's, if it's like a horror movie I want to see, I'd prefer to see it in theaters, but, it's nice to have the option, and there should always, I feel like with any movie, there should be the option to be able to see it on a big screen. I feel like, streaming, whether we like it or not, it is the future, and some people just want to see a movie on their TV. They don't want to have to go outside. Even if their TV is like just a little tiny 22-inch screen, some bullshit like that. You still want to just see it on their TV. That's all that matters. But give us the option. Always give us the option. I would love to see this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in theaters, but I'm not going to get that option because it's a Netflix exclusive. And that's bullshit. I want to be... And it also probably might not go to home video, too. That's going to suck. Like, it's going to suck knowing my Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection will be incomplete unless I make my own burned copy of it. Like, that sucks. Like, it also sucks that we don't get home video releases of a lot of streaming movies and shows. I want to own The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray to add to my Star Wars Blu-ray collection, but I can't. Because Disney fucking doesn't care. Like, they don't fucking care about, like, folks who want to see stuff like, they don't care about people who want to, like, see these movies they're releasing on Disney Plus in theaters, or who want to just collect shit. Like, I just want, I want to see Blu-rays and movie theaters continue to be supported and be given as an option. Because, it's at this point, it's becoming a niche for a lot of things. So, that's all. Just give us the option. Let us buy stuff. I don't want to have to, rent content. I don't like that at all. If I love something, I want to own it forever and experience it also on a big screen for the first time, in the case of movies. That's how I feel. Okay, Megalomaniac says, I'm very excited for your full Halloween Kills review. Hopefully it's not going to be long like your Halloween 2018 review, but hey, if it's that long, it would be awesome. Gotta grab my popcorn. I don't even know what I fucking talked about for 55 minutes in my Halloween 2018 video. I honestly don't know what I was talking about. I don't know why it was that long. But the Halloween Kills video will probably be pretty long, but it might not be that long. I don't know why sometimes I go on forever. Like, about, just like the background and history about a movie. Like, it's not necessary for some movies, but sometimes I still do it where, I don't really need to do that. I can just go straight into the review. I feel like, I gotta just figure out the pacing of my videos sometimes. But, some folks do like extremely long videos, though. So, at least there's that. Because, I like making videos, but at the same time, I do dread long videos because it could be a pain in the ass to finish them. It can be a pain in the ass to get through them. Ethan Hart has a super chat. Thank you so much, Ethan. Doc, what are your thoughts on them doing a Willy Wonka prequel? How will Timothée Chalamet compare to Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp in terms of child murderiness? Well, that's the thing I'm kind of afraid of. Like, it won't have that quality where he seems like he's probably killing these kids. I guess, I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be kind of scary because, I feel like he has to have some kind of warped childhood that is the reason why he is this way. So I guess it'll be fascinating to find out how he builds his chocolate empire. There is a story there. I feel like Timothée Chalamet is a little strange of a choice. It feels a little too trendy. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like a Gene Wilder pick or even a Johnny Depp pick. Like, I don't know. I don't really quite have a good idea of what Timothée Chalamet is really like as an actor. Because I saw Dune, but that's not really the best showcase for him. And I've seen some of his other movies, but I still I don't know what his range is exactly. Part of me feels like he's an attractive actor, and it might be a little bit of a flavor of the month thing where they're just casting him in everything. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I guess we'll see, but I do like the idea of maybe exploring his backstory, just because I think there is a story there. Sometimes there isn't a story with a prequel, but it gets made anyway. But, there's potential there. There is potential. Alrighty. But as Noah says, nobody asked for a Willy Wonka prequel. That is true. I don't think anybody was like, I want to see this motherfucker before he had that chocolate factory. I don't want to see him running the chocolate factory. I want to see him getting it made. I don't care about the chocolate factory. I just care about this weirdo before he becomes, more of a weirdo. I want to see him build up to becoming more of a weirdo. That's what I want to see. That's what I care about. All right, let me have another drink of Fresca. Oh, that is some good Fresca. Jesse has a super chat. Thank you, Jesse. Merry Christmas / Hanukkah / Kwanzaa on Saturday because the Wolfulites are invading Sunday. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for the super chat donation. I'm sorry, sorry your planet will be destroyed soon. And it's not going to be destroyed for any good reason. It's just going to be destroyed just because. That's always, it always feels like a bullshit excuse. But, it's sometimes cool to just blow something up. There's always kind of some kind of pleasure to it. I've just been scouting out the planet. Just been saying, yeah, this is a perfect place to blow up. Just been, killing time until, my people show up. So, look forward to Sunday, when, it's all gone. Look forward to that. It's you guys are gonna get blown up. It's gonna be funny. And if it doesn't happen... well, that'll just because I had some kind of character arc. At the last second, I had a change of heart like the Grinch. I hope that doesn't happen, but, if you're not blown up, that's probably what happened. And it's always a disappointing outcome for everybody involved. It's always a disappointing outcome. And you won't see that happen either. You just have to imagine it, too. That's even more disappointing. All right. All right, let me see. Let's see. Okay, Alpha asked, thoughts on the Saw series? I'm getting the Blu-ray collection soon. Well, I feel like the Saw series is like ahead of its time in the sense that it feels like it's meant to be binged, where I honestly can't imagine people making sense of the story like as it came along, like watching the movies annually. Like I can't imagine like being able to follow it where you have to keep track of this story on an annual basis, because it is like just it's very like convoluted, like where you have all these flashbacks, like it's flashback heavy, it's very non-linear across the films, where you won't find out what really happened in a scene until like a movie later, or sometimes 2 movies later. Like it's very confusing in that way. Like I binged them recently, so it made some sense, and I had somebody explaining what was going on. So I guess that helps too. Like it's, but you know, if you're just into like the traps, you know, it'll get to you at least on that level. Let me see. JP fan says, I heard the new Paranormal Activity wasn't terrible for once. That's kind of surprising. It looked pretty terrible to me, but I guess if it's good, that's good news, I suppose. Or at least it wasn't terrible. I guess that can mean, yeah, it just didn't suck. Let me see. Jeff Stamps asked, Dr. Wolfula, as long as the new remake doesn't say, do your thing, cuz, we should be happy. Love your channel, brother. Oh, okay, well, that's an optimistic thought. Okay, let me see. Megalomaniac says, which horror movie do you think shouldn't have any sequels, or lots of sequels, I suppose you said? I don't know. I don't know what's a horror franchise that has, I guess, you know, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, they need to take it easy with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. Just because, like, as a series, it's, you know, like, they gotta be a little bit more careful with them, because they keep, like, having to reset continuity on a sequel-by-sequel basis. Like, you know, because, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 retcons, I think, the events of the second movie, and then the fourth movie retcons the events too, and of course we got 2 remakes that exist in their own continuity. They need to take it easy with that. Like, it's getting old. So hopefully they figure something out with this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and if they make another one, just continue from there. Don't like keep resetting it. Like, it's getting old at this point. Just stick with it, and if it doesn't work out the first time, just, you know, rework it, but don't reset things totally. Now, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna have a drink of Fresca. I'm gonna turn down my mic just briefly. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I think I made like a glitchy face too. I'm sorry about that. Let me honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. Goulash was making a racket, and I told him to shut the fuck up. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Goulash was fucking up. But I told him to shut the fuck up, and we're back on track. Red has a super chat. Michael Myers dying thoughts? Honestly, with Halloween Kills, I thought he was going to die. I was like, anticipating it. Like, it felt like he really was going to die. And then he just didn't. And, you know, that was a surprising ending. Like, I feel like at this point, the movie came out 2 years ago, so if you haven't seen it yet, I'm just gonna I guess, discuss the ending, I guess, just briefly. But it was a very bold ending, because it's the first Halloween movie where Michael Myers is pretty much just totally successful. Like, you know, in the original movie, he doesn't get caught. I mean, of course, that gets retconned. But in the original movie, he escapes. You know, he does some killings, but he's still, like, kind of beaten. Like, he's, his murder of Laurie is prevented by Dr. Loomis, and, you know, he gets beaten, but he does escape. But in this new movie, he, like, fucking kills virtually all the existing Halloween characters. And then he just is still out there. And I thought that was fucking cool. Like, I liked that ending. It was very cool. I really enjoyed that ending just because we never really got to see that before, and it raises the stakes for the next film. So I enjoyed that, but I don't know. I feel like if they kill Michael Myers, they do have to sort of set it up as, well, you know, evil is still out there. It's still, just because Michael Myers is killed, it doesn't mean, like, all their fucking problems in the world are solved. Like I guess in the grand scheme of things, Michael Myers is still, like, a small problem. So it is, like, I think maybe they'll have, like, a Jamie Lloyd situation, or maybe Michael Myers will just, his fate will just be kept ambiguous. I'm not sure, but it's Halloween Ends. So I don't know if they will have, like, an ambiguous thing. I think they have to have some definitive conclusion to the franchise. But, you know, of course, we've had, like, Michael Myers seemingly die several times. So, you know, I don't think, if they kill him in this next movie, you know, it's not the last we've seen of Michael Myers. Like, we're gonna see him come back in some other form for sure. Alrighty, let me see. Let's find another question. Uwatu DeWatcher asked, the fuck is the 1997 TCM? I think you're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, and it was a wild sequel. Written and directed by the original film's co-writer, Kim Henkel, and it was just fucking nuts. But, you know, in some ways, I feel like I want to revisit that movie soon, because that was one of my first videos reviewing it, and that video is now, like, nearly 11 years old. So I want to revisit that movie soon, because there was some interesting ideas in that film. It was, like, crazy and bad, but there's a lot of interesting ideas in that film. It's definitely worth exploring again, because that film was wild. I actually do want to cover, I guess, the first three Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels again, just because my videos on them are super old anyway, and there's just a lot more I'd like to talk about. So you will see, like, you know, along with the Halloween series, because those original reviews were so old, you will see some revisits of movies I have reviewed in the past. So, which might be controversial for some people, but, you know, the videos are so old, like, and they were usually like 10 minutes long or less than 10 minutes long, like super short videos that were old. Like, there's plenty of stuff I can definitely talk about, especially since I think my, like, for example, my original Halloween Curse of Michael Myers vid was, I think, 10 minutes long, and my recent one, my redo, was nearly 40 minutes long. So, you know, it's definitely there. If I revisit something, there's gonna be a major expansion. So, you know, and you know, of course, I want to talk about, you know, I don't have any more Leatherface movies, so I might as well fucking talk about the ones I already talked about again. Like, of course, I have one new one coming out, but besides that, alrighty, let me see. Okay, well, Tony asked, what would be your take on a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie? And what would you title it? Well, the title is really complicated. I guess it would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, some kind of subtitle. But I'm not sure what it would be. I feel like, I don't know, something having to do with family. I guess maybe the subtitle could be something related to the Saw's family. So maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Saw's family, something like that. I think that would be a title. But my film would be a return to the roots of the franchise, where we would be focusing on the family angle. We would be de-emphasizing Leatherface. His role would be like in the original movie, where he is more like a subservient character, but he is not the focus. It is all about the family. He is just one factor in the family. And I think I would want to explore more the idea that, I think the idea that they are running this kind of restaurant, this sort of barbecue place that's really popular with the community. They kind of went into hiding and they had a different identity. They weren't the Sawyers anymore, but it turns out, oh yeah, they've been, like, killing people covertly, which is basically the plot of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but they didn't really explore that. They had more of like kind of this more gimmicky plot. Like to me, there was an interesting idea of like, wow, these popular people in the community are actually cannibals. Like they actually managed to be these notable, or at least Drayton Sawyer became this notable figure in the community, but he's like a cannibal that's like killing people and like serving them to other people. Like it's a fucked up idea, but they didn't really focus too much on that, and they focused more on a gimmicky plot where it's like, a radio host has a recording and she's used as bait by Dennis Hopper. Like, when you could have had you had like potential with this kind of other plot. So I would want to focus more on like just the idea that you don't really know the people in your neighborhood, even like the people, like your neighbors that you think are just the nicest people, the most American as apple pie, like just these, salt of the earth folks. Like you don't really know who they are. Like they're secretly these fucking murderous cannibals, like, and you just stumble upon it because of your trust. Where it's more about like, well, in the original film, the characters trespass, but in this film, it's all about you have trust in your fellow man, and it ends up biting you in the ass because you don't really know them for real. Like, you just end up fucking just betrayed by your willingness to just trust anybody, but you don't even know your neighbors. But let me move on. I need to develop these ideas further. Maybe I'll pitch it someday. All right, let me readjust in my chair. Let's find another question. Let's see. Johnny's House of Horrors has a super chat. Thank you, Johnny. What's your top movie of 2021 and why? Let me think. I don't know. I think I would say Dune. I think I would say Dune is the best movie of the year that I saw, just because it was such a great experience. Like, it used the medium of watching a film in the theater in a very innovative way, where it did things with sound and visuals that I just hadn't really experienced with a movie before, where it just had like these really cool sound effects in the theater that just I don't know, it's hard to describe if you haven't been there, but just like where you felt the sound, like you felt things that were happening. It really immersed you in this world, and it is just like a desert planet, but it just made you feel like this is like an actual, it's like Star Wars, where it's just like this is, a real place and a real time that's happening in front of your eyes. It's just a very cool atmospheric film. So I would have to go with Dune. Just a great cinematic experience. Alrighty. JP fan has a super chat. Thank you, sir. Would like to see you cover the MPAA in horror films. Also, what's the Wolfielite version of Christmas called? Okay, well, the Wolfielite version of Christmas is called Christmas. We're very unoriginal. We probably should have come up with a different name. I kind of suggested Wolfumus, but that doesn't really ring off the tongue. Not really at all. And it kind of sounds like it's like a Taco Bell slogan, like Live Moss. Like, it doesn't quite work. So, we're trying to workshop it, but for now, we just celebrate Christmas until we can figure out, a much more badass holiday. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll figure out like a different kind of holiday that is, Christmas adjacent, because, we still want to, compete with the holiday shopping season. Of course, we want to have that. We want our own version of all that stuff, because, it's how you create credibility amongst your, denizens. You have like, you could I could attract more folks to our holiday if, they still get the usual stuff. That's why, people don't really care that much about Hanukkah, because it's like candles and shit. Like, who cares about that? Like, come on. Give the people, like, some fucking ugly thing to decorate. Like, that's what it's all about, really. And the MPAA, I would like to explore their negative influence on the horror genre over the years in a video, that's for sure. So I'd like to do that because I have, touched on it every now and then, but yeah, I would like to really address, the different ways they've kind of impacted the genre and shaped it, especially during the 80s. Like, yeah, it's bad. I would like to explore that sometime. Now, I will be answering, I think just a few more questions. So let me find a good one to nearly conclude. Well, Mr. Anita Bonghit asked, thoughts on the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm? I haven't seen the recent season, but I did see the one before that, and I have seen the series at large besides the recent season, and that show still is great, and it sort of shows that, you can still have a great show over the years that's like long running. You just keep the creator involved and, give them like a break, let them come back to it later. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed. I enjoy Curb Your Enthusiasm still, but I haven't seen the recent season yet. I need to resubscribe to HBO Max for sure. All right. JP Fan says, I wonder where All American Massacre is even at nowadays. That's what I'm wondering. Like, it'd be great if they just released it, just like pretended it got leaked, because I guess maybe it's just not completed. I think there's still like some material that they still needed that they just didn't get, so they're just like, well, because I think, either that or it's just been completed this whole time and they just couldn't release it due to rights issues, which, I think there's a complicated rights situation with Chop Top, because I think, because of course because he only appeared in that one movie. And I think that movie was owned by a film corporation that no longer exists, and, different companies have inherited the distribution rights to that film. But Chop Top was not in the original movie, so they can't really just use him in new movies, like, unfortunately. So we had to settle on Bill Moseley just playing a cameo of Drayton Sawyer, even though it'd be nice to see him return as Chop Top, but legally, it just can't happen. Like, we can't see more Chop Top, unfortunately, just because the rights issues are complicated, and, it's hard to convince, like, a film company to be like, also, why don't you make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie with Chop Chop? He's there, too. Like, do something with him, too. Like, to go out of the way to buy the rights, because it's just like, no, we got Leatherface. That's all that matters. We don't need this other character. Like, it's unfortunate. I would love to see Chop Top again. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Andrew Weathersby asked, thoughts on the Munsters movie? Well, I've given my thoughts here and there, but we don't know too much, but I did, in my recent Halloween 2 Rob Zombie version review, I, went into, like, it's a little weird how all the three principal Munsters characters are all played by actors who, worked in the Rabbit and Red strip club in his remake films. Like, Grandpa Munster ran the strip club, Lily Munster is the stripper, and of course, Herman Munster is the bouncer of the strip club. It's a little weird. Like, it's a little strange how that's how it came to be. But, and also, it looks a little cheap. Apparently, I think they're shooting it in some European country, I think maybe Bulgaria or something like that. So it definitely seems like they're trying to save some money on it. But then again, of course. But then again, I think Munsters took place in America, so it's kind of weird, like, to have, like, a European feel to the film. I guess unless they're trying to go, well, they're back in their ancestral home where, Frankenstein monsters and Draculas are just, like, roaming around. Yeah, I'm not sure, but, like, the makeup effects just look a little chintzy just based on the one picture. I guess we'll see how it goes. It looks, but it's, it's a classic look though, so it feels like it's something we can count on as being a classic take on the Munster characters. Like, it's not going to be, something super sketchy. It's there's that at least. Like, they don't look like there's some kind of white trash version of the Munsters. They look classic, so it's clear that Rob Zombie is going to be trying to keep it close, pretty much just classic. So, hopefully it's not like, an R-rated thing where they're like, of course, Herman Munster is telling Lily that he's gonna skull fuck her. Hopefully there's nothing like that. Hopefully it's just like, classic Munsters, just contemporary, just dealing with modern stuff, but, not gritty or hardcore, hard edge. It'd be great if Rob Zombie, surprised us and gave us something like that. You never know. And, at the same time, I wouldn't even mind, if he made it kind of raunchy, like El Super Beasto, but, not gritty horror version of Munsters, because, it's still like a family property. I don't know. Okay, let me find. Let's see, Jeremiah Lee says, which reminds me, does anyone here have any Up Dog? What's Up Dog? Oh, you got me, Jeremiah. Oh, you really got me there. James Garcia asked, thoughts on James Wan's new film? I'm guessing you were talking about Malignant? I haven't seen Malignant yet. I still need to see it. I think I'll get it on home video, because, I don't really like streaming services that much, honestly. I always like to prefer to just, I'll get it on video and collect it and watch it and review it that way. Okay, let me see. Frankencastle626 asked, hey Doc, would you like to see the Universal Monsters come back with a remake since the Dark Universe failed a few years back? How would you personally go about it? Well, honestly, to me, the Universal Monsters, their thing is, just those old school castles and that kind of... would want to have some kind of, horror noir feel to it, where it's kind of just this very... where it almost feels like it could be black and white, but it's, contemporary effects and production design, where it's, a modern version of the classic feel of those films, just on a larger scale and a larger budget. That's what I would like to see. Where I would like to see something that's, like the classic Frankenstein movie, but just bigger and just more, just with an expanded plot as well, that kind of mixes more elements from the, more original elements from the original film, while also mixing stuff from the books back in that weren't in the movies, but just on a bigger scale. And of course, Frankenstein's design, for instance, would be, his classic design, just much more detailed and just today's effects bringing that to life. And maybe something where it doesn't look, I guess, as silly to modern audiences, but it still looks like that classic Boris Karloff kind of makeup. So, I would like to see just very, modern classic takes on the monsters. I think I would like to see. I don't know. It'd be cool just to see, just a bigger scale and budget applied to them. And let me find what will probably be my final question. Let me see. Well, okay, I'll answer this one, but it won't be my final question. Alpha asked, favorite Simpsons episode? I think maybe I'd have to go with... Honestly, I gotta go with the Marge versus the monorail, I think. That one's just so fucking funny. It's one of the few written by Conan O'Brien exclusively, and it's just so fucking funny. I always quote the line when Marge brings the scientist to try to help Homer, stop the monorail. And Homer's like, Marge says, I brought somebody who can help you. And Homer's like, Batman? Marge is like, no, he's a scientist. And Homer's like, Batman's a scientist. It's not Batman. That's such a fucking good line. I love that fucking episode. It's just, that was back when they were just packed with fucking gags. That was such a great era where it was just non-stop gags while still having a story. anytime I watch Simpsons now, it's just really pathetic. It's just really pathetic looking. And KDB says, I call the big one bitey. Another classic line. Okay, now this will probably be my real final... Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna say this one. Jay Coster says, how's the Ligma situation, Doc? Ligma balls? Oh, you guys, I don't know how that would work, but I know what that fucking shit means. But I don't know, it's nice to, even though I know this shit, it's nice to at least, I guess, just pretend they get me. Okay, let me see. Real final question. Let's find the real final question. Let me see. I'm still waiting on it. I'm trying to find a worthy final question. Let's find it. Hopefully. Okay, whatever this... Okay, Alpha, well, I answered a question. I'll just say it. I'll just answer this. This one won't be the real final question. I'm trying to find the real worthy final question. But Alpha says, favorite Elm Street sequel next to 3. Well, I think I would have to go... Honestly, I would probably go with... Well, I don't know if it's considered a sequel or just like, you know, kind of its own thing that's tangentially, you know, where it's, you know, of course, connected to Nightmare on Elm Street. But I guess I would go with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but... It's not quite a sequel. It's kind of its own standalone thing that just kind of riffs on Nightmare on Elm Street. But besides that, I guess I would have to go with 4. Like, that one was... That one had... But then again, I only vaguely remember... I don't watch 4 and 5 that frequently, though. So it's hard to say. Like, I usually watch the first one, 3, New Nightmare. And sometimes I'll watch, like... Freddy's Dead. Just because it's like an amusing film. And I guess sometimes Freddy vs. Jason. But yeah, I need to make reviews of 4 and 5. I don't revisit those ones that frequently. Like, I've seen them only a few times compared to the many times I've seen the other ones. So I need to revisit them because I can't even... I know Dream Child is 5, and that one has, you know, Freddy trying to come back as the new main chick's son, and then Dream Master was, I don't know, they were doing some shit in Dream Master. I don't remember that one very well at all, so need to do some more Freddy Krueger videos. Okay, but yeah, I do agree with Richard Russell. 4 had the best kills in my opinion. At least for the Roach death scene was, like, just so fucking gross and weird. Like, it definitely sticks with me. That's the one thing in the 4th one that I will never forget, even though I've forgotten most of everything else that has happened in it. God. Alrighty, let's see if I found the real final question. Zach asks, are you skeptical about Halloween Ends jumping forward 4 years, and would you rather it had stayed on the same night as 2018 Kills as originally planned? You know, it would have been interesting to, you know, have it all take place on one night. That would have been an interesting idea. But, you know, I think it is time, you know, to just kind of jump ahead. I guess... Because we'll see, like, how the town has changed and how the characters have changed after 4 years and how their grief after all of that, after that one really terrible night has affected them because, you know, the original film is canon in that universe. And that was, you know, a pretty shitty night. You know, 3 teenagers got killed. But this night, in the new timeline, like, fucking so many people got killed. It's like so many parents and sons and daughters just killed like in one night and they don't catch the guy. Like, that's gotta really fuck up your town. So it'll be nice to see how that, you know, how all that time influences and impacts the story. So I'm looking forward to that aspect. But that's it for the Q&A, folks. I've been chatting long enough. I gotta wrap things up. But first, we're gonna have shout-outs. So, I'm gonna give a shout-out to the Podmortem Podcast. Their recent episode is Ready or Not. They're a horror podcast based out of Texas. They're run by they're a family operation, so you should check them out and listen to their latest episode and follow them. Link in the description. They have some really great horror discussions. You gotta really check it out. Like, they've created quite the following just like in the past couple of years. So definitely check out their podcast and listen to the new episode. And also subscribe to the Steamlord, who runs a horror / Simpsons Treehouse of Horror kind of YouTube poop channel. I have collaborated with him at least once, and he's a great fan and a great supporter, so definitely subscribe to his channel. He loves all the same stuff I love, and he makes YouTube poops of all the stuff I love, so definitely check out his channel, subscribe to it. Also subscribe to Fitz on the Fritz, who is it's a horror duo YouTube channel. They basically make prank videos and skit videos, but with Michael Myers usually. In fact, I think exclusively Michael Myers, so if you love Michael Myers, they're right up your alley. So subscribe to Fitz on the Fritz today. Also, I'm sorry, my voice is just weathered after 90 minutes. It's hard to say stuff. Also, subscribe to Six Squad. They're a horror review and news channel, so check out their videos. If you love my videos, you'll probably love theirs. Link in the description to check them out. And finally, subscribe to Super Shag 19, just because he's a cool guy. And finally, here is a full list of my shout-out tier supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join in with these folks and get a shout-out in a stream or even video, consider supporting the channel in that tier and message me, and I'll give you guys a little bit of a shout-out. But thank you to all these folks. And oh shit, Fat Fucks got cropped out. I gotta fix that. But Fat Fucks, thank you, even though your credit is cropped out. My bad. Oh boy, my bad. But thank you to Fat Fucks. Anyway, thank you to all these shout-out tier supporters. Finally, like and subscribe this stream if you enjoyed it, and make sure to click the bell if you don't want to miss any future streams or reviews when they go up. And finally, follow me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula, and consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. Alrighty, that has been it. Dr. Wolfula signing out. I will be doing these more frequently again, so if you didn't get the answer you wanted, don't worry. I'll be doing this more often, and I'll make sure to, announce them ahead of time. A little more advance notice than just a few hours beforehand. So, don't worry if you didn't get your question answered. I'll be back next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out. See you all next time.
Hope you enjoyed this live stream. Why don't you watch another thing while I have your attention?